Okay, we are live, I believe. This is my first time this side of the Facebook Live. Normally Ellie is in control, so that's fun.
Well, that's cool. And this is my first Facebook Live ever, so I'm totally nervous and totally excited at the same time. So, yeah.
My dad always told me when I was little that nervousness and excitedness is the same feeling. I don't know if I believe him, but
Nice. If everybody learned that as kids, then we probably have a lot less people with anxiety disorders. So it's a good thing to remember, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll just give it a little longer, and then we'll jump in and introduce you and introduce our topic.
Sure thing.
Okay, I think we've got a few people watching at least, which is always exciting to see. So, hi everyone, welcome. I am Victoria. This is Robyn. Don't know where my hands are going. And you'll know you're from Achieve Oxfordshire. You might be on our courses at the moment, or you might have been on them in the past. We've taken a little bit of a break from our Facebook Lives, but we're back. We're ready to go. We've got lots of new topics. Starting with the one that we've got today. So kind of 5 tips for effective goal setting. And I'm going to hand over to my lovely colleague, Robyn, who is our health psychology lead. I don't know if you want to just introduce yourself quickly, Robyn.
Yeah, sure. So I've recently joined the Achieve team as the health psychology lead, and I'm running the weight management programs as well. And I've been working in the coaching and therapeutic world for the last 9 years. In that time, I've worked with over 400 people one-to-one, helping them with a variety of issues, anxiety or depression or relationship problems or work problems or all sorts of stuff. And one of the things that I found myself working with again and again was people who wanted to lose weight. And it was an area I became really, really interested in. And I guess that's what's led me to my journey here. So, yeah.
Brilliant, and we're so excited to have you. We've been after more of a health psychology expertise for ages, so we're really happy to have you. And we've kind of thrown you straight in with your first Facebook Live, all about goal setting. Would you mind just kind of explaining why we think it's such an important topic to focus on?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the reality is research tells us that the majority of people who set goals don't achieve them. That's why it's so important. There was a study done by a professor, Richard Wiseman, a few years back. He looked at 5,000 people who had set goals, and all of those people really wanted to achieve their goals, and they thought it was absolutely realistic that they would be able to do that. They were absolutely set on it. And he followed up a year later, and what he found is that 90% of them hadn't achieved their goals. Only 10% had actually done it. And the 90% who didn't achieve them, they had lots of reasons and kind of excuses as to why they hadn't achieved the goal. They'd just changed their mind, or they'd decided it wasn't the right time for them, or life had got in the way, whatever it was. But the reality is, when he kind of went back and looked at the 10% and how they had set their goals and compared that with the 90% who hadn't achieved them, he found that the 10% who had actually gone out and achieved those goals had set them differently in the first place. So this is why it's a really important topic. So yeah, we want to start looking at some of the things that are really important in terms of how we set our goals today.
Absolutely. Try and increase that 10% then.
Yeah, well, try and make sure that our achieve lot are part of the 10%. So,
so are you ready to dive in with your first tip?
Yeah, sure. So the first tip is to be specific. Okay, be specific. So if you have a goal that says, I want to exercise more, I hate to tell you, but it's actually not a goal. It's a really nice idea, and I have a bit of an idea about what you're talking about, but I've actually got no idea what you want to do. So the first thing is we need to really drill down and figure out, well, how am I going to achieve that? What am I actually talking about here? Because everybody and anybody should be able to know, yes, you're achieving your goal or you're not, and the more specific we are, the more we kind of know if we're achieving it, and the more we're able to plan for it. So instead of I want to exercise more, it becomes I want to go for a bike ride on the weekends, or I want to go for a 20-minute walk 3 times a week. Whatever it is that kind of says, okay, now we know what you're talking about. So that's the first thing, is just to really drill down, get specific, so we know exactly what we're talking about, because it's far easier to achieve that way.
Absolutely. My clients will be very familiar with me saying, I'm really sorry, I know it's pedantic, but it does work. Now I've got the proof in you to tell me that it definitely does. The science behind it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tip number 2.
So tip number 2 is be realistic. And, sometimes when we're setting goals, and particularly goals around weight loss, we set really big goals. And unfortunately, when we set really big goals, we can be setting ourselves up for failure. We can be setting ourselves up for unachievability, basically. Our goal could be like, okay, I want to do 5 hours of physical activity every week. And currently I'm doing none. So yeah, it's a big ask. It's a really big ask. And unfortunately, what happens is that when people set these really big goals and then find that they're actually quite difficult to achieve, it's actually really hard to put that 150 minutes of exercise into a week, that they end up then going, oh, well, I've only managed 100 this week, and oh, this is actually really difficult. And instead of adjusting their goal, what they tend to do is just drop it completely. And it disappears, and they go, oh, well, that didn't work. So, wow, we won't worry about that one. And unfortunately, that's what can happen, is they drop off. So one thing I would say with helping to keep your goal realistic is to keep it small. It's much easier to achieve a goal that says, I'm going to exercise for 15 minutes a day. And when you set that goal that says 15 minutes a day, not only do you feel really good about the fact that actually I totally achieved that because that was really easy, it's really easy to exceed the goal as well. And that makes us feel good, and that's intrinsically motivating because we're like, hey, I'm doing really well at this goal and I want to do a whole lot more. So really, really important. So yeah, keep it realistic, keep it small, be really real about this. Is this absolutely achievable? Because if it's not, you might want to just downgrade a little bit.
Absolutely. I love that one. Again, I always say, very rarely will I ever tell anyone that their goal is too small, but I will have that conversation about it being too big all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Really important.
Next one.
One thing at a time. One thing at a time. And this is related to being realistic, right? Because, I remember working with somebody years ago. She came in and she says, right, I want to lose weight. I'm like, okay, great. So have you got any ideas about how you'd like to do that? She says, I want to exercise more. I'm like, wonderful. Now, exercise more, not specific. So I said, okay, so what are you wanting to do? And she said, okay, so now I don't remember the exact details, but it was something along the lines of this. So I want to start each morning with 30 minutes of yoga. I want to go to the gym 3 times a week for an hour at a time. I want to walk for half an hour a day, and I want to meditate for at least 20 minutes before I go to bed each night. Now, this is a woman who had just finished telling me that she was really, really busy, and she found it a struggle to get 10 minutes to herself in a day. And so I said, okay, so hold on a minute. So you want to do this, 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 and this. Is that right? And she's like, yeah, now I do. I'm like, okay. And you're really busy and you only have about 10 minutes free each day. And she said, yep, absolutely. And I said, Houston, I think we've got a problem. Because the reality is, it just, she was trying to do way too much. And the problem with trying to juggle 10 balls at once is if you can't juggle 10 balls, you don't just drop one, you drop all of them. They all fall to the ground. And so it's really quite important to consider that. And we're so much more likely to achieve our goals if we just stick with one thing, decide what that one thing is, make it specific, make it really realistic, nice and small, easy to attain, and focus on that goal. And then you make it a habit. It becomes natural. It becomes easy. It becomes part of your routine. You're just doing it now, and then choose the next one. Much, much easier to achieve one thing at a time and make that an actual thing rather than trying to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things at once. A lot of people with wait lists are all or nothing. So really bring it back and make the all one thing and do it really, really well. So that's what I'd say about that one.
Okay. I love that one. I think it's really interesting as well, as I'm hearing you explain each point, often interlink with each other. And so they clearly work really well together to kind of create a really effective goal.
They
Brilliant.
Really do.
Okay, on we go again.
Absolutely. So tip 4 is plan your goal well. And this is the bit that people usually forget. So by plan your goal well, what I mean is you have to think about how you're going to achieve your goal. What steps or systems or processes or, what do you need to put in place so that your goal can happen? And this really matters. I mean, like, if your goal is, I want to go walking 3 times a week for 20 minutes, that's great. Fantastic. Now, when? When are you going to do that? And what do you need to prepare? It may be that you're like, I don't want to get up early in the morning and I don't want to do it in the dark at night. Fantastic. Right. Let's speak to your boss, see if you can adjust your hours slightly so you can do it at lunchtimes. Would that work? But the speaking to the boss bit needs to happen so that the lunchtime bit can happen. Or maybe you want to go walking, and we all know winter is coming, and we know it can rain in England. This is something I've noticed, and but maybe your shoes they're great, they're comfortable, they're wonderful for walking, but they're not waterproof. And you don't want to come home with soggy feet, right? So maybe one of the things you need to do to help that goal happen is to get some waterproof shoes that are really comfortable, great for walking, but not going to give you soggy feet. So there's a bunch of things that can happen. I remember somebody the other day who said their goal was to get to bed earlier. And they realized after a few days, in order to make that happen, they needed to get their child to bed earlier, because then they had enough me time, they had enough time to do those evening things before they then went to bed. So this is all about what needs to happen so that your goal can happen. Okay? Takes a bit of thought, but it's well worth it.
Absolutely. That's one of my favourite ones, I think. I've raved to you about it before. But yeah, really thinking about the practical steps that need to happen for that goal to happen. That's probably my favourite one, to be honest. Okay, on to the next one.
So the next one is identify your first step. And research tells us that if you take your first step towards achieving your goal within 24 hours of setting it, you're far more likely to achieve it. Okay, so by planning in that first step, by deciding what that first step is going to be and making sure you take it within the 24 hours, you are definitely increasing your likelihood of being able to achieve that goal. And like the rest of your goal, that first step should be specific, should be realistic. It should be so incredibly small and easy to do that you can't possibly not do it. It could be writing it down and sticking it on the fridge. So, I'm just choosing a magnetic surface here, by the way. This is not about the food thing, but, could be that too. It could be that you're going to tell somebody or call somebody and see if they want to come out with you for a walk on weekend. Whatever that goal is, by taking that first step, nice and small, nice and easy, definitely going to help you out.
Absolutely brilliant. And now the next one, I think it's a bonus one, isn't it, from you?
Absolutely, because we said 5, but you know what? We're going to give you one for free. And it's all about that feel-good factor, okay? It's about choosing something that feels good. Now, this is something people don't really think about, especially with weight loss. I mean, the number of times I've worked with people over the years, they come and tell me, okay, I want to lose weight. And then pretty soon, now this is the classic one. It's not always this by any stretch of the imagination, but one I've heard a few times is, right, I want to go to the gym. Obviously, we're not going to be hearing that too much at the moment. It's not very possible, but in regular times, it's a common one because they feel like that's a really good way to lose weight. And my first question to that person then is usually, great, fantastic. So tell me, do you like going to the gym? And the answer is usually no. And I'm like, okay, so hold on a minute. So you want to go to the gym, but you don't like going to the gym. I'm like, why are you trying to force yourself to do something you don't want to do? Like, I said, do you like walking? Quite like walking. Do you like biking? Love my bike. Yeah. Like, well, why do you want to go to the gym then? Like, pick something you actually enjoy. Some people love to dance. Some people love to swim. Whatever it is, if it feels good, it's going to be so much easier than trying to force yourself to do something that you really don't like or are really not interested in. Similarly with food, people make goals that are cutting things out. Like, okay, I'm not going to eat chocolate ever again. I'm not going to eat processed foods. I mean, apart from, this is not one thing at a time. We're going way too overboard here. It can feel like, but what can I eat? Sometimes it's better to focus on putting something in rather than taking something out because it feels much better. Rather than, okay, I'm not going to eat chocolate, it becomes, I'm going to find some really nice, nutritious treats to put in because I like my snacks and I like my treats and I want to keep them, but I want to do it in a way that's going to work for me in terms of my weight loss as well. Then by choosing something that feels really, really good, it's going to be so much easier to actually make that a reality.
Absolutely. Every time you explain a new point, it's my new favourite. But absolutely, life is there to be enjoyed. So that's now my new favourite one. Brilliant. Right, let me just check if we have any comments or any questions for if you've got them to pick her health psychology brain. Please be putting in. But maybe just quickly, if I just run through them again, I don't know if you have a quick sentence about each one, or if you just want me to run them through. But just
I tell you what, I'll run through them and then you can check if there are comments. How about that? We'll free you up.
Love it.
And, so just recapping then, the first one was about being specific. Remember, we need to know exactly what you're talking about. It can't be too big and vague and airy-fairy. Get down to the detail. What do you really want to do? Next one, be realistic. Okay, don't make it too big. Don't try and do a million things at once and achieve something huge. Keep it small. And when you're achieving that, then you can increase it a bit, stage it in. And that relates to the next one thing at a time. Don't try and do 10 things at once. It's just way too hard. Next one, plan your goal well. Okay, plan your goal really well. What do you need to put in place so that this can happen? How can you make that goal happen? Number 5, identify your first step. And remember, we want to take that within the first 24 hours. And our bonus tip, choose something that feels good. Going for the feel-good factor. So we really want to make that happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Robyn. Those were really helpful, really interesting. And it's a really nice positive note to end the week on, I think, thinking about how to set our new goals. Brilliant. I don't think we have any comments at the moment. But if anyone, when you're watching this back, you have any questions that you want to ask Robyn, any topics that you want her to cover, please do leave a comment below and we will do that for you. That's the joy of this.
Absolutely, because I love talking about this stuff, so please give me something to teach you. I love sharing this information. So
speaking of, we've just had a comment and I already know you'll love it because it's one of your favorite topics. It's any ideas on how to become and remain motivated. Now I know you want to do a whole Facebook Live on this, don't you?
I do.
But do you have any quick tips at all?
Okay, so the first thing I would say then, I mean, if we're to kind of, there's so much I want to say on this topic. Okay, we're definitely going to need to do a Facebook Live on this. But one thing I would really say here is you need to really tune in to what is most important to you. So if I was to ask you to write down a bunch of reasons why you want to lose weight, now chances are the first reasons you come up with are good reasons, like, really good reasons, but they're probably not the most compelling reasons. They're probably just the most obvious ones. I asked somebody this question the other day and she said it'd be really nice to be able to fit into some of her clothes again. Great go. Absolutely. She then mentioned health issues. I'm like, yep, absolutely. Cool. But then she got down to something that was really important to her, and that was her kids. And she said, I would have able to run around with my son for a lot longer. I feel bad when I have to stop and he wants to keep going. Now that mattered to her a lot. That was what was going to keep her motivated. So by, writing that down and sticking it somewhere that she could see it every day. First thing she sees when she wakes up in the morning, every time she picks up the phone, it's on there. Every time she goes into the bathroom, it's stuck on the mirror. I'm doing it for my kids. And that mattered to her a lot. It was interesting because we kind of checked as well. And I said, okay, so of those things you've given me, let's just check the other ones, see if there's anything else that's really compelling, that really matters to you. And her comment about clothing was like, well, actually, it doesn't really matter. There's always a bigger size. I'm like, okay, it's never going to motivate her. It's never going to do it. So that is my absolute number one motivation tip, is to find what's really, really important to you about this, what really matters, and remind yourself of that every opportunity you can get.
That's brilliant. And I know that will have been a challenge, because I know you talk about that one a lot. And they've said, sorry for the massive question, but I think you'll be very happy that question's come up. So hopefully that's kind of given you some things to think about. But like we say, we'll schedule that one in for a couple of weeks' time, because I know that's a topic that a lot of people are interested in. But I think for today, I don't see any more questions. Okay. I'll call it a day. Congratulations on your first Facebook Live, Robyn. How was
it?
Yay! Good. Well, we'll leave it there, but we'll be back here next week, 1 o'clock on Friday, and we've got our colleague Maddie. And we've got another question just popped up. Are there any foods that can help reduce anxiety and depression to mental health? I think that might be, again, another kind of session in itself. One that we'll do research on as well.
We should definitely look at that, and certainly the relationship between gut health and mental health is very well proven now, and they're doing a lot of research into it. And I don't know about specific foods, but I'm going to say the healthier your gut flora, the better. And the best way towards healthy gut flora is a really good balanced diet with lots of nutrition. This is where it comes back to eating your 5 a day, getting some good fats into your diet, some good carbs into your diet, having fiber, all of those things, those things are going to help you to have a healthy gut flora, and that will definitely help with that. So I think that's the best advice we can give you in 30 seconds. So
yeah, and I would say, of course, food is just one really small part of our health, and there are lots of things that affect how we feel, and that might cause or increase anxiety and depression. And so looking at things really holistically, your stress, your sleep, asking for help if you need it is absolutely a great thing to do.
Again, is another one. People contact, spending time with people you like, laughing, get those stupid cat videos on YouTube up, have a laugh. It's so good for you. And, of course, sleep, there are just so many things that do impact it. So you're absolutely right. Looking at the whole picture is really important.
Absolutely. But no, that's a really good question as well, giving lots of ideas for future topics, which is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think we'll call it a day for now. But I hope that's been helpful. It's definitely been interesting for me, so I'm sure it's interesting for those of you watching as well. We hope you have a good weekend, and we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Cool. Great. Thank you, everybody. Bye.